twice. All right, while President Trump and his family are in Florida, some tense moments back at the White House. A potential intruder was captured near the White House, putting Secret Service officers on alert along with their dogs. Officers say that someone jumped over a bike rack on Pennsylvania Avenue in an apparent attempt to get over the White House fence, but officers caught the person before reaching it and were told charges are now pending. This latest incident comes a week after a man breached the White House fence and gained entry to the grounds. Justice Department filing a motion on President Trump's revised travel ban, asking a federal judge in Hawaii to clarify his restraining order, arguing that it shouldn't apply to the administration's refugee policy. Garrett Teddy is live in Washington with this one. Garrett, all right, what exactly is the Justice Department looking for clarification on?
Well, Laura, there are 11 sections in the president's updated travel ban, and the most talked about section is the ban on visas for 6 predominantly Muslim countries. This week, U.S. District Judge Derek Watson ruled that the new executive order was likely unconstitutional because of President Trump's comments about Muslims on the campaign trail, such as this.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. We can't live like this. It's going to get worse and worse. You're going to have more World Trade Centers. It's going to get worse and worse, folks. We could be politically correct and we can be stupid.
And Judge Watson said statements like that are clear evidence the president was targeting Muslims with his travel ban. The White House has said it plans to appeal that decision, but in the meantime, the Justice Department is trying to get parts of the executive order reinstated. Late yesterday, DOJ filed a motion arguing that the visa ban is the only portion of the order that could even be construed as possibly targeting Muslims, and requested Judge Watson to reconsider his decision and allow the other 10 sections of the order to remain in effect. Those other sections include a 120-day halt on the refugee program and lowering the cap on how many refugees the U.S. can bring in each year from 100,000 to 50,000. Laura?
And another federal judge, this one in Maryland, also placed a temporary restraining order on the travel ban, and that seems to be where the administration is focusing its efforts on. Is that right?
Yeah, yesterday the Justice Department filed a notice that it plans to appeal that temporary restraining order to the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals, and that's significant because you'll remember it was the notoriously liberal 9th Circuit Court of Appeals that ruled against President Trump's first travel ban. The 4th Circuit is much more conservative, and legal experts believe the administration stands a significantly better chance at prevailing there rather than in the 9th Circuit. And that's where it could still end up if the White House decides to appeal the ruling by Judge Watson in Hawaii, something they said they plan to do. But of course, that would come after a precedent is set by the 4th Circuit. And keep in mind, all of these current court battles, they are over decisions by the federal judges to place these temporary restrictions on the travel ban being enforced, and the much bigger legal fight down the road will be over whether or not the ban as a whole is constitutional. Laura?
All right, more to come on that, Garrett Tenney. Thanks so much.
You got it.
Well, the world tonight is mourning one of the founding fathers of rock and roll, the one, the only, Chuck Berry.
Oh, Johnny, go! Go! Whoa, Johnny,
The Missouri native came on the scene in the 1950s, unleashing a string of hits that would shape popular music for years to come, like Roll Over Beethoven and Memphis, Tennessee, just to name a few. Berry stormed the airwaves with his catchy riffs and witty wordplay, inspiring bands like the Beatles, Rolling Stones. The list goes on. Adam Housley has a look back at his legendary career.
Keith Richards called his guitar work perfection. And John Lennon once said, if you tried to give rock and roll another name, you might call it Chuck Berry.
You invented rock and roll, didn't you?
Well, I like to quote him, he did.
The father of rock and roll was born Charles Edward Anderson Berry in 1926. Growing up in St. Louis, a local jazz artist taught him guitar. Berry listened to big band, jazz, blues, and country, a combination that would become the backbone of his rock style. In 1952, he joined legendary blues pianist Johnny Johnson's trio. 3 years later, he met his idol Muddy Waters, who introduced him to the head of Chess Records. The first demo he handed in was Maybelline, a song Rolling Stone credits with starting rock and roll guitar. A string of hits followed. His pop blues style was like no other, and neither was his guitar playing, with his signature double string plucking and that famous duck walk. His success started to fade in '59 when he served time for, quote, immoral reasons involving an underage girl. Then came the British invasion of the 1960s, and while Barry himself wasn't as visible, his songs certainly were. Barry performed sporadically in the decades that followed, and his last album of new material was in 1979. He also had more legal trouble with drug, abuse, and tax evasion charges. But despite that, he remained a legend. In 1985, he was one of the first to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It's very difficult for me to talk about Chuck Berry because I lifted every living ever played.
And in 2000, President Clinton presented Barry with the Kennedy Center Honor and called him one of the 20th century's most influential musicians.
We call it rock, we call it, boogie chicken, we call it rhythm and blues, call it what you may. Man, I play with people, and I love what that people.
Adam Housley, Fox News.
Chuck Berry died today at the age of 90. We are working on getting more information on this story, and we'll bring that to you later on in the Fox Report. Right now, we're getting new details on what investigators say might have been an attempted terror attack in Paris. That, plus the Russian parliament calling for an investigation into several American media outlets, including CNN. Russia investigating news in the United States? It's all still ahead on the Fox Report.
Jump to win.
The excitement of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is on Sirius XM. Hear every second of every action-filled game, every buzzer beater. What's it up? Every Cinderella story, from the opening tip until they cut down the Nets in Arizona. 68 teams, all with one dream. Track every step of your school's journey through the bracket on Sirius XM. Get our complete NCAA tournament schedule at SiriusXM.com/college basketball schedule.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and are only barely making
for
minimum
fuck's
payments,
sake.
know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt. And they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-259-8088. 800-259-8088. 800-259-8088.
Someday you will lose that 20, 30, or 50 pounds you've been carrying around. Well, someday may seem just around the corner, but will it be too late to protect the ones you love? If you're 50 to 60 years old in reasonably good health, you could qualify for $500,000 of term insurance for $100 to $200 per month with no physical exam. Call Term Provider. Speak to a life insurance specialist, and in just a few minutes you can be on your way to a term policy with no needles, no hassle, no strangers coming to your home. The policy could be in your hands in just a few days, so don't wait until someday. Call Term Provider today at 800-563-2510. Call 800-563-2510. Find out if you qualify for $500,000 of term life insurance. Turn someday into today. Call Term Provider 800-563-2510. Subliminal message follows. Someday never comes. Someday never comes. Someday never comes.
You're a truck driver, and you want 2017 to be different. More money would...
Hearing what you're talking about now makes a lot of sense because you have a lot of in-depth.
Turn left on Great Basin Highway.
You know, I mean, you're there in Washington some of the time, and you know so much more than most of us do. But I mean, you know, a lot of us are scared. You know, you got to understand that. I mean, what's the step 2 and what's the step 3? What are we going to come to? It's more government-mandated health care that does not belong to the government in the first place.
Well, so let me answer the step question and what you just said about more government-mandated health care.
Continue 0.3 miles. Then turn left on Avenue C.
Conservatives, even Ryan, my skepticism about him at times, and what Trump has said are completely wrong. What they're doing is they are creating a pathway for legislation to open up the market. We haven't had a market-based insurance market in a long time. I'll just
turn left on Avenue C, then turn left.
Right, and elements of it are market-based, and that's to be fair to the whole picture. But the first thing is the mandate. The mandate will be removed in every existing plan. Why? It is that forced purchase of a card, and Sean Spicer said it correctly.
Continue 0.1 miles, then turn right on East 15th Street.
Because access to care is part of the picture, and the quality of care and
turn right on East 15th Street, then turn right.
Doctors, nurses, and facilities for that matter need to be there, and if they don't accept it, then you don't have it. What you have is a card, and with whatever millions of people have a card, that is not health care.
It ain't gonna work.
So taking away the mandate leaves
drive
people
0.1 miles, then turn right on East 12th Street.
Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services further down in the show as we work our way through tonight. She has just
been awesome.
Turn right on East 12th Street,
this is
then
a
turn
woman
right.
who will have a great deal of influence. She will work together with Secretary Price. She crafted the Indiana conservative-based, means-tested contributory model. Right, contributory model for Medicaid expansion. There are ways to do this, and part of the approach.
And that's
drive 500 feet, then turn right on East 10th Street. Turn right on East 10th Street, then turn right.
As much about 3 weeks ago when he sat down with the healthcare leaders. It was about 10:20 a.m. in the morning. I was sitting there on set on Barney. I know because it cost me another half hour sitting there with Stu. Not a problem. We're friends and it's a great show. But it's so we can stay there and walk through and play his remarks and view him making his remarks. Not putting things back to the states. And he used the word laboratories. Let the states work through solutions. So the problem we have here, Chris, and I've got to move because I got to
Continue 0.1 miles, then turn right on Bell Avenue.
I want to get one more in, but Chris, the problem we have is too many people are taking headlines and tweets and making predetermined outcomes. We are very early in a process that is going to be hard, messy, and contentious. And I want it to be contentious.
Turn right on Bell Avenue,
because we have to work it through. But I can tell you two things. The mandate goes in every plan, every way that exists. And what Seema said, Seema Verma said, the woman I was talking about, who was just confirmed today, 55-43 vote, is that, and I like this statement, she said that, we'll hear to it, by saying that low-income people are
Continue 500 feet, then turn left on Avenue J.